Welcome back to the Think Tank. I'm Frank Kenney. My email here, in case you want to reach out to us, you've got some comments. We'll always love to hear that. Always want to know what you want to talk about. And once again, I'm joined by my main man, Bruce. And Bruce is an architect, a guru, a supply chain genius, and he's the guy that we go to when we go, okay, what's really going on? In our previous episodes, we talked about we've been talking about these multiple waves of supply chain disruption that happened and that have happened because of this pandemic. So the crush of demand, and we talked about can't get toilet paper, can't get hand sanitizer. What does that mean? And we also talked about the dependency on people, and that's people in the process and people, the personnel, the guys that are on the trucks, and what does that mean? And we also talked about the people who are responsible for the systems and the benefits of cloud. Bruce, welcome back. Thank you for that. I'm going to pick up on something that you said in our last episode, which I think is totally understated, but we need to start to really think about. And so I'm going to put this right here, inbound, and I'm going to put this outbound logistics. And before we go with this third wave, right? And this is the echo of closed borders, right? The lack of raw goods and the lack of components. This third wave that we should be thinking about. Can you just give me, the nickel definition of what do you mean when you say inbound and outbound logistics?
Ah, well, in the supply chain, we have to move goods. So as you think about logistics is really all about moving goods from point A to point B. Inbound logistics, if I'm a manufacturer and I'm purchasing raw steel, the logistics, the movement of that raw steel or paper or whatever it happens to be coming into me, I consider that my inbound logistics. To me, it is inbound. It's stuff I'm expecting to receive. If I'm Walmart, their inbound logistics are the finished goods they're getting from their suppliers, right? Their wholesalers.
Right.
Now, outbound logistics, then after I've received the goods, I've taken the steel and I've made what I need out of it. I've taken the paper, I've created toilet paper, paper towels, face masks, whatever I've done. I need to be able to then get my finished goods to the folks that are buying it from me, the folks that need it. To me, then my movement of my finished goods to my customers is outbound logistics. So it's essentially the flow of the goods. It's inbound when it's coming to me, outbound when it's leaving.
And that's got to be critical. So when we talk about inbound and outbound logistics, and we talk about the lack of raw goods and the lack of components, so we know, I remember reading newspaper December 31st, 2019, that China was in crisis mode because of the of COVID-19,
Mhm.
and they were shutting down. They were just shutting down, and so here we are, March 24th. That is a cool 2 months and 3 weeks later, and today. Um, Restrictions have eased off, and I think absolutely today I just saw in the news that China has reopened for business. Well,
Mhm.
what does that mean to the manufacturers? What does that mean? Does that mean if you were dependent on China for raw goods, right? And that steel, chemical, paper, just even agriculture, and just so many different parts. If you were dependent on a country like China, does that mean that you got no inbound for 2.5 months? What does your inventory look like? And how as a manufacturer, how's that impacting you?
There was a certain amount of material in the supply chain when China, for instance, closed its borders. But if China was the raw material supplier sending it to a manufacturer, what was in the supply chain was all the manufacturer has. Once they've gone through that, they're pretty much out of supplies. And the danger is that with the way supply chains have traditionally been structured, that manufacturer may only have a couple of sources for that material. And if they were all in China, essentially his source of all raw materials stopped. then once China opens the border, it's not immediate. In other words, they've been shut down for 3 months. It's going to take them a while for those supplies to start flowing through again. There is going to be a lag where manufacturers have exhausted the materials, the inbound finished goods, the inbound raw materials to enable them to make their materials and pass them on through. That's going to eventually slow down, and it will take a period of time for that supply chain processing to catch up and pick back up again. So
So,
in other words, right now we're not having a supply issue. It's a demand surge, but not a supply issue. When we hit wave three, it's potential we're actually going to have a shortage of supplies instead of a demand.
and
Right.
the pain is almost the same for the consumer. I
Exactly.
still can't go into the store and get what I need,
Right.
except the blame is a little bit different.
Exactly. It's a slightly different cause, but it would be the exact same experience to the end consumer.
You and I've had conversations about the overloaded word onboard, right?
Mhm.
So, I'm going to ask you for two things. One, I'm going to ask you to just quickly break down what onboarding is, right? So, we just want to make notes because I want to make sure that we hit this, right? I want you to quickly knock out what onboarding is, and what do you mean by onboarding?
Mhm.
And this is horrible. You've got to get on me because I need to get better at my penmanship. But onboarding, there you go. I need you to break down what onboarding is,
Mhm.
and if you can do that in a very simplistic way. And I'm going to ask you the question: why can't I just onboard a whole new bunch of suppliers? So instead of getting six tons of steel from this supplier, why can't I just turn it on and get 2 tons from three suppliers? I mean, isn't it that simple?
And we wish it would be. What we're actually with onboarding, the simplest way to look at onboarding is everything that needs to be done within your company, Frank, to allow you to do business with a new entity. If I'm a supplier and you want to onboard me, it's everything that you and I need to do to let you send me orders and me fulfill your order and
Well,
fulfill your
right.
request.
Isn't it just like isn't it just like an AS2 connection?
No, no, it's everything's involved. It's business and technology. You've got to establish from the technology standpoint. We need to establish connectivity. We need to establish, hey, what's the data going to look like? How are we going to exchange the data? Is it going to be, through some sort of EDI, traditional EDI thing? Is it going to be through proprietary file formats you and I agree upon, XML? And then, in addition, onboarding also includes all of the business activities. We need to make sure that all the locations are set up properly, all of the items are identified in your system correctly and my system. We have to be mutually agreeing upon all this stuff. You
Mm.
know how I'm identifying my ship from locations. I need to know how you're identifying your ship tos. We need to set up processes. We need to agree upon what am I going to sell you? What are you going to purchase? What are the items? And then I need to actually be figuring out what I need to do to get this. But for simplistic terms, onboarding is everything that needs to be done from a technical and business standpoint to enable you and I to do business together.
Okay, so now I'm starting to understand, and hopefully our viewers and our listeners understand the vast complexity with just onboarding a new partner, just getting a new partner. I can get into a business room, I can get into a conference room with someone tomorrow, shake hands, and we're doing business, but we're not really doing business because I've got to get through all of the technical and business requirements to do business.
Right. All the
Okay,
steps.
so let's cut to the chase.
Mhm.
How can companies make this easier?
The trick with the new normal is going to be companies are going to have very agile, very adaptable supply chains.
What do
You're no longer going to be able to rely upon one or two sources for your information or
you
for your goods. You're going to need to be able to reach out and rapidly add additional sources, additional suppliers, additional manufacturers. If I'm a wholesaler, I can't rely upon buying my red widgets from the same two guys. I may have to go out and end up adding six new folks. I need to be able to do this very quickly, very agile. I also need to have perfect visibility to it. I need to be able to see what's going on. I need very fast, actionable information to be able to make these decisions. I need to be able to onboard folks fast. I need to be able to set them up fast. I need to be able to see how my business is going. If I need 1,000 and I reach out to you and you only have 500, I need to know that very quickly so I can go to the next supplier, the next supplier, the next supplier. The old way of doing this is not going to work going forward. We need to leverage technology to give us that very agile ability to connect with a person, set them up to do business, and also exchange information on an operational day-to-day basis about what I need and what you can provide so that I can make sure that I'm getting my stuff fulfilled. So that, and this all trickles down. This starts at the bottom with the retailer pushing up. Instead of being a very narrow vertical pipe now, is the way supply chains used to be pictured. This now needs to be more like a tree branching out, but we need to be able to add those branches and leaves extremely quickly. And only with modern technology and cloud-based environments are we going to be able to do that.
So modern cloud technologies. I really want to just highlight the fact that we don't know. Nobody knows, how long the pandemic will be here.
Mhm.
And as people develop immunity and can people catch it again? We just don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Mhm.
Which is why the one assumption that we can pretty much be sure of is that we are going to go through additional waves of this pandemic, which means that unless our supply chains become agile and become adaptable, and we can quickly make these course corrections, we're going to experience the crush of the demand, the dependency on people, right, and the echo of closed borders. Bruce, I really want to thank you, and I'd like to welcome you back for one more episode, which I think is really important. One of the things that I hear one of the things that I hear from many customers and many users in the community is this idea of trust in our existing platforms. So I want to tackle that, but I think you've given us a lot to think about. Once again, this is the Think Tank with Frank Kenney, my man, Bruce Hamblin. You can reach us with our first initial and our last name at Cleo.com. Bruce, I have totally screwed up the spelling of your name here, but the good part is that we're going to make sure that we tag each other in on these postings. Bruce,
Okay.
thanks again for everything that you do, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you, sir. Enjoyed it. Have a good day.
Take care.